Hello students, welcome back to Wikipedia word videos. My topic for the presentation is 7th section of the chapter Kingdom Plantae. In this section of the video, we will be discussing about the fruits of Angiosperms, that is flowering plants. Students, why do plants make fruits? What makes a fruit a fruit? So in this section of the video, we will discuss the purpose of fruit and the structure that make up a fruit, as well as differentiate between types of fruit. Okay. So after fertilization, the ovary develops into a fruit and ovules into seeds. I repeat, ovary in later stages of progression becomes fruit and ovules in later stages of progression gets converted into seeds. So the ovary wall, it develops into a fruit wall which is called as pericarp. As you can see, this is pericarp. This is pericarp. So this is pericarp. Pericarp is what? It is an ovary wall that develops into a fruit wall. So that is called as pericarp, students. So that is fruit. Fruit, you can say that it can be defined as a metamorphosed or ripened ovary. So ovary in later stages of progression, it becomes fruit without or with one or more seeds. And fruit is a characteristic feature of flowering plants, that is Angiosperms, students. So it is a mature or ripened ovary which is developed after fertilization. If a fruit is formed without fertilization of the ovary, then that is called as parthenocarpic fruit. I repeat, if a fruit is formed without fertilization of the ovary, then that fruit is called as parthenocarpic fruit. Generally, students, fruit, it consists of a wall which is called as pericarp. See, this is the pericarp of this fruit and seeds. So generally fruit consists of pericarp and seeds. The pericarp, it may be dry, it may be fleshy. See, in this case, in the orange, pericarp is dry, and here in this fruit, pericarp is fleshy. So pericarp is what? It is a outer layer, or you can say it's a fruit wall which is developed from a ovary wall. Okay. So when pericarp is thick and fleshy, it is differentiated into outer epicarp and middle mesocarp and inner endocarp. We will discuss it in detail, but for the time being, just know that fruit, after the fertilization, the ovary develops into a fruit and ovules get converted into seed, and the ovary wall, it develops into fruit wall which is called as pericarp. So all in all, you can say that fruit is defined as metamorphosed or ripened ovary without or with one or more seeds. Okay, now we'll see before fertilization. This is flower and this is the ovary of a flower. Ovary is a female reproductive organ of angiosperms. Okay, so this is before fertilization. Now we'll talk about the after fertilization. See, this ovary got converted into a fruit-like structure after fertilization. I have already taught you about the fertilization and reproduction in angiosperms in the 6th section of the chapter Kingdom Plantae. You can refer to it for better understanding. Okay. So before fertilization, this is simple ovary, but after fertilization, it gets converted into fruit. So ovary gets converted into fruit just after fertilization in angiosperms. See, this is before fertilization, ovule. See, these 6 are ovules, and after fertilization, it gets converted into seeds. See, this is seed. So that means ovary gets converted into fruit after fertilization and ovule gets converted into seed after fertilization. I hope it is clear to you now. See, students, if fruit develops exclusively from ovary, then that is called as true fruit. I repeat, if ovary gets converted into fruit, then that is called as true fruit. By definition, a fruit is a seed's plant mature ovary surrounding a simple seed, and true fruits include cherries, plums, peaches, And there are multiple types of true fruits. These includes berry, hesperidium, pepo, and drupe. But we will not go in detail about it here. Just see, true fruit is when ovary gets converted into fruit, then that is called as true fruit, or it is also called as eucarp. So mango, if fruit develops from other floral parts like thalamus, then that is called as false fruit, and it is also called as pseudocarp, students. I hope it is now clear to you. It is also called as accessory fruits. When a fruit has parts beyond just a ovary, then it is termed as accessory fruit, or it is also called as false fruit. And sometimes older text calls the accessory fruit a false fruit. The extra parts may include tissue from the floral tube, petal, sepal, bracts, anything. Okay, so that is called as false fruit. It is also called as pseudocarp. And if fruit develops without fertilization, then that is called as parthenocarp. And that fruit is called as parthenocarpic fruit. Okay. Example is banana. True fruit is mango, false fruit is apple, and parthenocarpic fruit is banana. I hope it is now clear to you. Parts of fruit. One is pericarp and another is seed. So generally fruit consists of a whole or pericarp and seed. And this pericarp, it may be fleshy, it may be dry. When pericarp is thick and fleshy, it is differentiated into outer epicarp and mesocarp, which is middle layer, and inner endocarp. So pericarp is made up of epicarp, which is the outer layer. Inner, or you can say the middle layer, is called as mesocarp, and inner layer is endocarp. Okay, so pericarp is made up of epicarp, mesocarp, and endocarp. I hope it is clear to you now. So inner part is thin and membranous in case of orange, and inner part in case of mango and plum, it is hard and stony. So this is hard and stony inner part, that is endocarp. Okay, now we'll talk about the classification of angiosperms fruit, students. First is simple fruit, second is aggregate fruit, and third is composite fruit. Simple fruit, it may be dry, it may be fleshy. Aggregate fruit we'll talk about, and composite fruit, it may be synchronous and soroses. And simple fruit, we'll talk about the simple fruit first. It may be monocarpillary, it may be polycarpillary syncarpous. Carpillary means carpel. Carpel is gynoecium, that is female reproductive organ. So when it has only one carpel, then that is called as monocarpillary. It develops from ovary of a single flower. That's why it is called as monocarpillary simple fruit. See, ovary may be monocarpillary and ovary may be polycarpillary syncarpous. See, there are two carpels. This is one carpel and this is another carpel. Okay, so this ovary is polycarpillary syncarpous. Syncarpous, why it is called as syncarpous? Because it is fused. It is fused from this end, but they are liberated from the outer end. Okay, so ovary may be polycarpillary syncarpous. And there are again two types of simple fruits, student. One is dry in case of cotton, as you can see, and ladyfinger, pea. So these were the dry fruits. Now we'll talk about the fleshy fruits, students, such as tomato, guava, and mango. Okay, so these are the fleshy simple fruits. Simple fruits are of two types, dry and fleshy. Dry, we have seen cotton, ladyfinger, and pea, and in fleshy we have guava, tomato, and mango. See, dry. Pericarp, it becomes dry and thin at maturity. Okay, and pericarp is not differentiated into epicarp, mesocarp, and endocarp. I have just taught you that pericarp is made up of epicarp, mesocarp, and endocarp. But here, in case of a dry fruit, pericarp is not differentiated into epicarp, mesocarp, and endocarp. And dry fruits, they are further classified into dehiscent, wherein pericarp, it just dehisces off, or it breaks at maturity, and another is indehiscent fruit wherein pericarp does not dehisce or break at maturity. Okay, so dry fruits are of two types: dry dehiscent fruit, dry indehiscent fruit. Now comes dry dehiscent fruit. Example is legume. It open or dehisce by both ventral and dorsal sutures. See, this is one suture and this is another suture. This is dorsal suture and another one is ventral suture. So in case of dry dehiscent, they open or they dehisce by both ventral and dorsal sutures. In case of P, see, this is one suture, this is dorsal suture to be more precise, and at the back side of it, that is ventral suture. So dry dehiscent example is legume, that is peas. Another comes capsule. They open or dehisce almost always, that means from this side, from this side, from other two sides, so they dehisce almost from all ways. So this is another example, that is capsule, and it can be seen in ladyfinger. Okay, so this is one suture, this is another suture, this is third suture, so it dehisces from almost always. They open or dehisce by only ventral suture. Please note that they dehisce only from ventral suture. Then comes dry indehiscent. For example, achenes. Okay, pericarp is tough but thin and they free from seed coat. It is seen in lotus. It is seen in caryopsis. Pericarp is free from seed coat, but thalamus is fused with pericarp in case of caryopsis. So these are the two examples of dry indehiscent flowers. Such as wheat and maize, they are example of caryopsis. Now we'll talk about the fleshy fruit, students. Pericarp, it become thick and fleshy at maturity. That means in the later stages of progression of development, you can say, pericarp, it becomes thick and fleshy at maturity. Okay, pericarp, it may or may not differentiate it into epicarp, mesocarp and endocarp. Fleshy fruits, they are further classified into drupe, which is one seeded plant, berry, which is many seeded plants such as tomato. Now we'll talk about the drupe, students. Drupe, it has stony endocarp that encloses a single seed. This is fleshy, one or more chambered or one or more seeded fruit. It develops from a monocarpellary, that is one carpel, and in the syncarpous condition, that means when carpels are in the fused condition. So the pericarp of a fruit, it remains differentiated into thin epicarp, fleshy mesocarp and stony endocarp. So this is mango, which is an example of drupe. Coconut. Coconut is again an example of drupe. This is superior or inferior indehiscent, many seeded and fleshy fruit. What? Berry. So this was about the drupe, which has a stony endocarp that encloses a single seed. This is one seeded fruits. Now we'll talk about the berry, which is superior or inferior indehiscent, many seeded and fleshy fruits, just as in case of tomato. See, it has many seeds, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, many seeds are there, and it develops from a single carpel or single gynoecium, that is female reproductive organ, or from a syncarpous pistil with axile or parietal placentation. I have already taught you about the placentation, 5 types of placentation in the chapter Anatomy of Flowering Plant. You can refer to that for better understanding. Okay, so berry is superior or inferior indehiscent fruit, many seeded or fleshy fruit. It develops from a single carpel or from syncarpous pistil with axile or parietal placentation, as seen in tomato and grapes. See, it is many seeded plants, right? And endocarp is pulpy here. So this was about drupe and berry. Now we'll talk about the third category, and that is aggregate fruit. It develops from ovary of a single flower or solitary flower. Ovary must be polycarpellary, apocarpous. Apocarpous means that they are not in the fused state. Okay, each carpel develops into a small simple fruitlet. Okay, and collection of simple fruitlets makes it an aggregate fruit. So that is called as itario. Okay, so these are the multiple you can say fruit. Example is custard apple, whose botanical name is Annona esquamosa. Okay, so this is the thalamus of a fruit, and this is the pericarp here. These are the seeds, and this is the rind. Outer covering, outer hard covering is rind. Okay, see, this is the zoom view of a fruitlet. Each fruitlet is called as berry. Therefore, it is an itario of berries. Okay. Now we'll talk about the composite fruit, students. It develops from an entire inflorescence. See, this is the inflorescence, cluster of flowers. This is one flower, two flower, three flower, and so on. So it develops from an entire inflorescence, that is cluster of flower. Then that fruit is called as composite fruit. And each of the flower, it produces fruit. That means this flower will produce its own fruit, this flower will produce its own fruit, but these all mature into a single mass to form an composite fruit. I repeat, each of the flower, it produces a fruit of its own, but these all mature into a single mass to form a composite fruit. So there are two main types of composite fruits, synchonous and cirrhosis. So this is synchonous and this is cirrhosis. Let's study about it. First, we'll talk about the synchonous, students. This type of composite fruit, it develops from hollow pear-shaped fleshy receptacle. See, this is the receptacle. This curvy shaped is receptacle, which enclose numerous minute male and female flowers. See, these red ones are male and female flowers. And the receptacle, it develops further and it converts into so-called edible fleshy fruit. It rarely encloses a number of true fruits or achenes, which develop from a female flower of hypanthodium inflorescence. Okay, for example, it is seen in fig. See, this is the hollow receptacle and it has multiple female florets, and each floret, it develop into achene or drupes. I hope it is clear to you now, and it is seen in fig. So synchonous, which is a composite fruit, it is seen in fig. Now we'll talk about the cirrhosis, students, which is a type of a composite fruit. This type of multiple fruit, it develops from spike or spadix. Here, the flower diffuse together by their perianth lobe, and simultaneously the axis bearing them becomes fleshy and juicy, and as a result whole inflorescence forms a compact mass. See, this compact, it forms a compact mass, this entire inflorescence. Okay, so this type of multiple fruit develops from a spike or spadix. Okay, here flowers, they fuse together by their perianth lobe. See, this is the fleshy peduncle. This middle one is a peduncle which is fleshy, and these small ones are the fruitlets. And this is the fleshy bracts, that are leaf-like structures. See, these spike-like structures are bracts. Okay, a fleshy multiple fruit formed from flowers that are crowded together on a fleshy stem, and that is pineapple. Okay, so this was all about the fruits of angiosperms, that is flowering plant. In my next section of the presentation, that is 8th section, we'll be discussing about the seeds of angiosperms, that is flowering plants. So till then, stay tuned and keep watching Edupedia word videos. Thank you.